Welcome to Hands-on Tarot, where I show you the many ways you can use tarot for more than just divination and help you grow your tarot practice. I'm Susie Gourlay, and I've been using tarot for many years to create my future rather than just predict it. Today we are going to use tarot to help with connecting with our inner child. The decks that I'm going to be using today are the Light Seers Tarot by Chris Anne. This is one that I really love. I have a couple of them actually. It's just a very gentle, healing tarot that I often use for people when I'm doing readings on an emotional level for them. And the other deck that I'm using is the Modern Love Tarot by Ethony. She is my High Priestess with the Awakened Soul Coven. I have all of her decks. They're very good quality, unbelievable. The guidebooks are very thick and very in-depth, which I love as well. So I'm using this one specifically for a couple images to show you today. Your inner child is a part of your subconscious that has been picking up messages way before it was able to fully possess what was going on, both mentally and emotionally. It holds emotions, memories, and beliefs from the past, as well as hopes and dreams for the future. It consists of what a person learned and experienced in the earliest years of their life, so usually birth to age 8 or 9. While for some this is a happy and exciting time, for others it can be quite the opposite. So keeping that in mind, your childhoods are quite different from other people's childhoods. We don't all grow up the same. Our inner child holds on to memories of our childhoods, which include times of learning, comfort, and processing information before our brains were developed enough to understand. Children view the world in different ways than adults. Oftentimes they are more open-minded. They look at things in black and white, and they haven't quite developed the negative self-talk and the self-conscious aspects that us adults experience. One story in particular about thinking of children who think very concretely in black and white. I remember one time my grandma and my sister were together and they were going to go out somewhere. And my grandma said, oh, she just had to go put on her face, which is, a common expression to, she just had to, put her makeup on and get ready to look, presentable to the outside world. But of course, to my sister as a child, she thought that she didn't have her face on and had to put an actual, face on before they could go out. So she was very confused by that and a bit scared. So that's just kind of a funny story when I think of that. Our inner child is always communicating with us when we're feeling anxious or fearful, avoiding people, places, experiences. This is a sign that we may need to start listening to our inner child. This does come up quite a bit when I am doing readings for people. It is interesting to see the cards that we're going to talk about come up together in these inferences experiences as well. So this is quite an important topic, I feel. So with your inner child, what are their pains, their hopes, their dreams, and their needs? You may also feel like certain emotional wounds have come to the surface, and it could also be because you weren't able to heal these as a child who was to be taken care of by loved ones. Often when we feel trapped, we seek safety and comfort. We may also be pushed to pursue connections and adventure. So children like to do those sorts of things. And when we connect to our inner child, we are inviting joy, hope, and play so that our inner child can come out of hiding. So quite often people will color or do something creative or act silly, those sorts of things. So we make ourselves vulnerable, and this welcomes healing. So you need to provide your inner child with love, no matter what the situation. So there are a few ways you can identify your inner child. You can acknowledge your inner child needs help. You can, say, I know you're there. I am welcoming of you. I would love to spend time with you and have some fun and just play. You can picture a happy childhood moment. You can do mirror work as well. Practice self-compassion, which can be very difficult, but that's one very profound way to identify your inner child. Write a letter to your inner child. Identify your emotional triggers, and most importantly, make time for play. Here are a few ways that you can also embrace your inner child. Have fun. Make time every day to play and engage in fun activities. Revisit your childhood interests. What did you enjoy doing as a child? When I think of my childhood in the summers, we went camping a lot, and going back to those places. Being spontaneous, letting go of your inhibitions. This doesn't mean, going to get drunk or whatever, but, not be worried if you look silly, doing something that you enjoy. Live in the moment. And spend time with kids. So if you have kids, this is an easy thing to do. I myself do not have kids, so I might spend time with my nieces and nephews and enjoy their company and see how they interact with the world. And then you being able to interact with them also helps bring your inner child out. So, you might think of a birthday, for example, one that you really enjoyed, and you see some people who will also try to redo the cakes that they had as a child. Something like that would be a lot of fun to do. So while there are many signs of a wounded inner child, there are some of the most common signs that you have a wounded inner child are people-pleasing behavior, such as trouble saying no. This is definitely something that I am working on. Difficulty setting and enforcing boundaries. I think this has come to light in the last few years quite a bit, and people are getting better at setting boundaries for themselves. Feeling guilty for standing up for yourself. Avoiding conflict at every chance possible. You might just be a passive person, and working on assertiveness might help you with that as well. Avoiding conflict at every chance possible isn't really something that is possible in life. There will always be conflict, so this is something that is definitely needing to work on if this is something that you struggle with. And fear of abandonment or letting go is another sign that your inner child is wounded and needs some connecting with. So there are a number of reassuring and calming things that you can do to speak to your inner child. So if you're doing mirror work, this might be a practice that you can use these words of affirmation, saying things like, "You are safe and loved." Saying that to yourself. "I support you. I will protect you. It's okay to feel sad, scared, or anxious. It's okay to say no. I love you the way you are. You are kind, you are smart, you are funny, you are important, and I am happy you are here." These are things that really do have a lot of meaning in them, and saying these to yourself might feel very weird. It might be difficult, but they really do have a profound effect. So using tarot is a perfect way to connect with your inner child because it speaks to us in images and symbols, as you know, and doing so bypasses our conscious mind and can get to the root of emotions, memories, and traumas. So I pulled out a few cards that represent your inner child. So if these come up for you, in a reading, these are really great signs that the reading that you are doing is bringing up that inner child, and some work to work with that inner child is necessary. So the Sun. Quite often we see, a child in this card. So here's the Sun from the Light Seers Tarot, and here's the Sun from the Modern Love Tarot. The Sun indicates joy. This is a really, when this card comes up, you know, everybody kind of feels the same. So I really do love that. The Sun is a great card for joy. Next we have the Ten of Cups. This card shows the element of play. In this deck in particular, not only do we see, you know, the two generations here, but the kids are having fun and the adults are watching them and enjoying that moment. So enjoying that play, having that happiness, feeling that contentment. The Six of Cups. So often this card is represented by feelings of nostalgia. In this card, in the Lightseers Tarot, we see a young child and his puppy, and then later on we see an older man and his dog. So this is a really cute representation of that nostalgia feeling. You know, it tells us to feel our feelings. It's also a card of kindness and showing kindness. So showing kindness to your inner child and showing kindness to yourself. The Six of Cups in the the Modern Love Tarot, I also really love as well, because it's this girl, you know, she's just playing on a rock with water around her, and you can see her image reflected in the water here. You know, oftentimes with water, for me, it does indicate memories as well. So I've always really loved this card and the representation of Six of Cups with the inner child. So when I am using this deck and this card comes up, that is a big example there for me on inner child work. The Page of Cups. So the Page of Cups represents reclaiming our magic, you know, having joy, being creative, doing something silly, pretending, make-believe. These are the things that, you know, children do all the time. And as adults, we definitely do not do that. The Page of Cups in the Modern Love Tarot shows this child, you know, sitting with their feet in the water and fish jumping out of a cup, and that just being so silly and laughing. You know, that is just a really joyful, beautiful image for the Page of Cups in these two decks here. The Queen of Pentacles is also a really wonderful card to come up in a reading for the inner child, because for me, the Queen of Pentacles is the healer, and she embodies compassion. You might also find the Queen of Cups is a good example because she's very nurturing and very giving. I think a lot of the queens, you know, could fit into this inner child, but especially the Queen of Pentacles, with her compassion and taking things slowly and just feeling grounded and rooted. The Ace of Cups in representing inner peace. So this is a really nice healing card to come up when you're doing spreads on inner child healing. The Ace of Cups is quite often overflowing with emotion, and that water is pouring out onto the ground and nurturing that earth and perhaps growing, you know, a new plant and providing, you know, that fertility there as well. So it's feeling so happy that your cup is overflowing. There's joyfulness there. That inner peace is just so perfect in that moment. I also find the Fool is a really great card for representing the inner child, because when we look at the Fool, they have that, they're very naive, they're very carefree, just kind of going with the flow, seeing where their adventure leads them. And I really think the Fool is a great aspect for representing the inner child. But I also wanted to show you the pages within the Modern Love Tarot. So pages are represented usually by children or people with childlike behavior. So it is important to talk about the pages when we are talking about the inner child. And the Modern Love Tarot does a really good representation of the inner child within this step of page. So here I have the Page of Wands. It's showing a little girl. She has a castle behind her. She has stuffed animals, a unicorn and a dragon. She is dressed up as kind of a superhero type thing, and she has a wand in her hand that she is holding up. So, you know, that make-believe aspect, that you know, creativity with within your mind, and just making up an adventure and having fun with it. The Page of Pentacles here shows a child. It looks like, you know, at a cabin of sorts. We see a tire swing in the background, and this child is planting a new tree here, and they have their dog next to them as well. And I think this is a really great embodiment of the page here, you know, as the naturalist, to, you know, plant a tree that is just as tall as they are, and soon it will grow to be much taller, just like they are as well. And that symbolism in the growth of that tree with the child too is really wonderful. And I also have the Page of Swords here to show you. This one's kind of a cute representation. A kid in the wind here. He is flying a kite that has a pirate flag on it, and he's got a big smile on his face, you know, having fun, enjoying, you know, the chaos of running around and then having this kite attached to it in the wind, kind of taking that you know, wherever it may. So, you know, running and having fun. This might be even taking literally an aspect to touch with your inner child, is go out and fly a kite, run around the park and, you know, have some fun. Or even just sit there and watch, you know, the birds in the sky and, you know, not worry about the heavy things that are going on in your life, or, you know, what's going on around you, but just being outside and you know, enjoying yourself. So I really wanted to show you those cards in particular for a really great embodiment of the inner child. So looking at the traits of the inner child, we often see them in air signs. So these are the signs of Libra, Gemini, or Aquarius. And I think of that, especially with working with the inner child, especially, you know, we can think about the emotions and those water signs, but the air signs really do kind of bring out those memories, the thoughts and the longings for that time in the past there. So another thing that you can do is get creative and use the cards for some art. So quite often you see people who make collages or journal about tarot cards. You can also get creative and do challenges like the Lion Hearts challenges on Instagram. You can also create your own deck, those sorts of things. You can collage, color, journal. Any of those ways are a really great way to get creative with your cards and also appease that inner child as well. So you can start by asking, what does my inner child need? So I'm just going to pull a couple cards here. Whoops, that's a terrible shuffle. So I'm asking, what does my inner child need? And I got the King of Swords here. So the way that I look at the King of Swords, he is the specialist. So trying to get into details, focus on something that I am really interested in, that I have a lot of knowledge in, and kind of go into a study. So for me, this could be researching, delving a little bit more into an area that I like to study, and possibly even just reading a book. I know growing up, that is something that I always did, and I still always read. I could take that as well. But the King of Swords being that specialist, I would think it's something that I'm really interested in, that I know a lot about, that really brings that joy for me, and delving a little bit more into that and going down that path. You can start collaging about this. You can do some art about this. You can even journal about what that means to you. And at the end of that exercise, you could say, after we're done, how does my inner child feel now? and you can pull another card to answer that question for you. I pulled Death here, card number 13, which is kind of nice. In this case, if I actually did something creative here, you know, how does my inner child feel now? Transformed. I especially do really love this Death card in the Light Seers Tarot because it's called Death and Rebirth. So that rebirth, you know, that inner child is now feels that it's being listened to, that it's being taken care of, that it is being acknowledged. So I think those are two really great cards to pull, asking those two questions. So that's something you can do there as well. So I am going to do a spread by the Embroidered Forest, and I will link to it in the notes as well. And this spread is called the Inner Child Hug. So you would use this spread using tarot or oracle cards to comfort your inner child. So we'll just go through this spread together. You can also pull out your pages, for example, if you have a specific card that you want to use as a signifier. Let's see, I am going to focus on the Page of Cups for myself today, actually. So that is the card that I'm going to use for my significator. And this is just a nice 5-card spread. Move that down here. Okay. So card number 1, what elements of my past are resurfacing now? Card number 2, what can I do right now to soothe my inner child? Card number 3, who or what is an ally for me right now? Oh, there's that King of Swords coming up again. Card number 4, put this down here. What positive mantra or affirmation is good for me? We can gaze at all the cards to allow this mantra to come to me, but look at that, I'm getting some of the cards that we discussed earlier with that 10 of Cups. So that is really wonderful to show up now that I'm doing a spread on inner child. And card number 5 is what further healing must I do and what closure can I seek? And I have the 6 of Swords here. So let's go through this spread together. Just making sure you can see all of these as well. Okay. All right, card number 1. So this is this one here on the very left. This card represents the environment in which your inner child grew up. So elements of your past that are resurfacing for you. If this is not an emotionally invested card, it could be something, you know, from your personal memories. It also lets you know kind of what energy is surrounding you at this time. And I have the 5 of Swords. So the 5s do represent a challenge happening or a bit of a conflict. And Swords representing the element of air is that thoughts and communication. So this could be, you know, something as simple as I had mentioned before, that difficulty setting boundaries or avoiding conflict. That could definitely be touching on those signs that we had mentioned earlier. Card number 2. What can I do right now to soothe my inner child? So we have the Emperor right in the middle here. Card number 4, we're looking for that stability. The Emperor is often someone who loves laws and rules, so finding a bit more of a structure. Quite often they are sitting on a throne that is very solid. So looking for that stability, that grounding, but also because the Emperor is represented by the sign of Aries, we see that fire energy in there. So, you know, that could be being stable, being very structured, following rules and order, but also finding excitement in doing that. So, you know, this could be even organizing something. I just ordered a new planner for the new year, waiting for that to come in. I am kind of excited to do that. That also helps me be creative in a way because I'm using stickers, which inner child loves. I'm using paper and markers and adding colors and that sort of thing. So I think that is kind of what I need right now, because I am feeling a bit scattered in mind and emotion, as well as I did pick that Six of Cups to be my significator. I do think that would help me definitely in this time. So that does ring true. Card number 3. Who or what is an ally for me right now? So we have that King of Swords showing up. I had just discussed this with that being the specialist, focusing on something with a bit more detail, really starting to get down to possibly researching, reading books, that sort of thing. So a person who is an ally for me right now could be somebody who, you know, that I might turn to, who is really good at organization, who is really good at structure. I do have a friend who is one of the most organized people I know. And she might help give me some hints on how I can find that structure and organization, but she is also very creative. So that would definitely fit within, you know, what I can do right now to soothe my inner child, but she is somebody who will help me with those plans going forward. Card number 4 is what positive mantra or affirmation is good for me. 10 of Cups, that card of happiness there. We had talked at the beginning about that 10 of Cups representing play. So that is really perfect as well, because I had talking about, you know, organizing with a new planner, using stickers, decorating things, writing out birthdays. That is kind of a sense of play in that aspect. Kind of, you know, using different paper ephemera, using different colored markers and pens to get creative and have fun and decorate this new planner as it comes to me. Looking at a positive mantra for this 10 of Cups, you know, it could be one that we had mentioned, you know, earlier with you are whatever. In this, it might be you are creative, you are, you know, fun to be around, you can organize and plan what you need, and you are in control. So those might be some affirmations that I use for the 10 of Cups. And finally, card number 5, what further healing must I do, or what kind of closure do I seek? And I have the 6 of Swords here. One good thing is I'm seeing a forward progression from 5 of Swords to 6 of Swords. So in the spread, it is telling me that I will, you know, be able to give my inner child a hug and comfort my inner child. 6 of Swords is, you know, leaving an area for, you know, something that's more thoughtful or more fulfilling. So leaving this area of being overwhelmed and, you know, lost in my thoughts. And a lot of it is because of my current emotions of feeling restless and wanting to get, you know, a little bit more organized. So that 6 of Swords is a great card to come up because it is showing that I am actually taking action, or that I will be taking action to, you know, have fun, but also get organized and, you know, decorate this new planner that's coming to me. So that's kind of an everyday aspect of working with my inner child by being creative, but also helping where I am now by staying organized and on top of things so that I am not, you know, staying in this area of chaos and, you know, conflict, especially with what's going on, you know, in my mind and feeling overwhelmed. So that's an example of a spread that you can do to give your inner child a hug. There are other spreads that you can do as well, which I will also share with you. Healing Your Inner Child by Emerald Lotus Divination is a really great one. And what I really do kind of want to close on is about listening to your emotions. So my degree is in psychology, which is why I really love using the tarot. For me, it's a tool to be able to talk to people and work through their emotions. And because we had mentioned tarot uses images, it really does, speak to people's inner childs and their subconscious on that level. So that's why I love those two together. But I did find something online that talks about our inner emotions and possibly what they're leading to. So bitterness, if you are feeling very bitter, it shows where you need to heal, where you're still holding judgments on yourself and others. So that might be a starting point for you. And, you can ask your cards there, just as we had done earlier, what does my inner child need right now? And, how does my inner child feel after doing the work on that? Resentment, it shows that where you're living in the past, or shows that you're living in the past and not allowing the present to be as it is. Discomfort shows that you need to pay attention right now to what is happening, because you're being given the opportunity to change, to do something different than you typically do. Anger shows you what you're passionate about, where your boundaries are, and what you believe needs to change about the world. So when you're feeling anger, this is telling you that you're showing anger because it is something that you're passionate about, and you want to see that change. Disappointment shows that you're tired for something, that you don't want to give in to apathy, and that you still care. So, we see that card in the Four of Cups, or we see that aspect in the Four of Cups. Guilt shows that you're still living a life in other people's expectations of what you should do. That comes up quite a bit with inner child work. Shame as well. Shame shows that you're internalizing other people's beliefs about who you should be or about who you are, and that you need to reconnect with yourself. Anxiety shows that you need to wake up right now and you need to be present. It shows that you're stuck in the past and living in fear of the future. Tarot is a great tool to help you work through that sort of thing. Also being creative in a way that, brings out that inner child play might help relieve that for you. And finally, sadness shows the depths of your feeling and the depth of your care for others in this world. Children really do show compassion in ways when they can see that people are hurting. So do that for yourself as well. So, we can use those affirmations, we can use these spreads, we can see if these cards come up for us when we are doing work on the inner child, or if you do readings for others, notice if these cards come up, and perhaps ask your client, is there an aspect of the reason you're here because we need to work on that inner child, and give that a hug. And you can go from there, on some helpful hints on how they can, overcome that sort of thing or work with their inner child. And of course, using those affirmations would help as well. So I really wanted to do this topic because it does really incorporate a lot of depth that you can use your tarot deck for in a very positive way to help with healing. So quite often people think tarot is just about predicting the future, when really this is using the tarot to help with healing and help with guidance and, the inner work, which I really believe tarot should be used for, because it is a much more beneficial way to, use these cards and these images and the magic and the depth that is in these cards. So thank you for joining me. I hope you found this episode insightful. If you have any questions or comments, you can email me at handsontarot@gmail.com. You can visit my website at susiegorley.com, or you can find me on Instagram at handsontarot. Thank you for listening. I'm Susie Gourlay, and I see tarot in your future.